Hello, friends. Welcome to Look and Live. You are now here with Pastor James Devalon, and this is another reaction video. Now, before I react to the video that you guys recommended, entitled "It is by 5 times August." Jesus, what happened to us? I wanted to spend a little bit of time to talk about a subject matter that I think is also very important from the light of perspective here. It is this matter of mass formation psychosis. This is a psychological term that is well known and respected and has been applied many times in the past, and many people believe that this matter has something to do with what we are seeing in our world today in regards to the pestilence 19. So with that being said, I want to pause to take a quick commercial break, and then we're gonna dive into the video. Okay, friends, welcome back. If you are new to the channel, like and subscribe to the YouTube page. Click the bell icon to be notified for my upcoming videos. Comment below, give me your thoughts and opinion on this matter. Let's keep the conversation going in the comment description below. And if you want to get in touch with us, all the information is all below. If you want to support the channel as well, we have a few links down there so you can, give us a little thumbs up and assist us in the process as we are trying to rebuild this video. The goal for the month, for the end of this month into the next month, by the month of March, we are hoping to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the month of March. So let's make it happen, guys. Share this page with as many as possible. Like and subscribe to the YouTube page as well. So let's talk about formation psychosis. Now, the first thing, the reason why I'm interested in this concept of mass formation psychosis is because I have a drive for, I yearn for knowledge, right? And one of the things that really interested me was the Nazi Germany. Like, what happened in Nazi Germany? Why was Adolf Hitler so successful? And why some of these most amazing, educated people ended up following and falling in line with the mindset of Adolf Hitler? How did they buy into this matter? Well, I found my answer in what psychologists may refer to as mass formation psychosis. Now, one of the men that really got my attention, it is a man by the name of Robert Malone. Now, Robert Malone doesn't have a very good reputation by those mainstream media. When you look into Robert Malone's life, they quickly tell you from the very onset. Robert Malone is an American physician, biochemist. His early works focus on mRNA technology, pharmaceuticals, and drug repurposing research. During the pestilent 19 pandemic, Malone has promoted misinformation about the safety and efficacy of pestilence 19 jab. Okay, so with that being said, it makes me even more interested in what Robert Malone has to say. Part of the reason why, whenever I see a label is attached on an individual, I ask the question, why is that label there? So since the label has been placed on him as supposedly some type of misinformed kind of person who likes to speak against the narrative or what is being proposed to the masses, so therefore I am even more interested in what Robert Malone has to say. So Joe Rogan had Robert Malone on his podcast, and we're going to take a moment to take a listen at this discussion to come to a conclusion of what mass formation psychosis is all about. Now, be aware, Robert Malone is going to go into a few details of what this is all about. If you want to go deeper into this matter, I will highly suggest you need to go on YouTube, and I could put a link also in the description of this video. Listen to this interview. It's about an hour and 23 minutes long, of a Professor Matthias Desmet, on mass formation psychosis and hypnosis in the light of pestilence 19 and what happened to us as a masses. If you want to understand the concept, go and check out this awesome interview. So with Robert Malone, we're gonna spend about 7 minutes now taking a listen. I'll pause every now and then just to comment on top of what Robert Malone may be saying here, and then with that, when we're done with this video, we're gonna merge into our reaction video. That's why you have to follow on into the next video so you can get some in-depth knowledge of what is being discussed here. Friends, I think we have all been suffered of this matter, by the way. Just to be exact with you, we have all been either misled, we have all been the product of what is known in psychology as mass formation psychosis. It's a form of hypnosis that takes place when a mass of people lose their focus and primarily trust a leader to help in fixing their problems. So let's get the concept from the mouth of Robert Malone today at that Joe Rogan podcast show so we can learn something.
Well, I'm very grateful that there's courageous people like yourself that do put your reputations and your careers on the line by speaking out against this stuff when it is very difficult. And when you do get deplatformed for doing that, they know that by censoring you, they're not just censoring you. They're also making others like you self-censor.
Absolutely. The overlords that own them, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, etc., these large, massive funds that are completely decoupled from nation states, have no moral core. They have no moral purpose. Their only purpose is return on investment. And that is the core problem here. That and the fact that we as a society have become grossly fragmented. How does this happen? How do we have this emergent phenomena? The how question, right? And behind the how question is the why question. The how question of a third of the population basically being hypnotized and totally wrapped up in whatever Tony Fauci and the mainstream media feeds them, whatever CNN tells them is true. Let me illustrate that. The other day I was looking through New York Times recent articles about Omicron and pediatrics in preparation for this and for making some slideshows. And I saw this headline in the New York Times, epidemiologist and a vaccinologist, and the title was, How You Should Think About Children and Omicron. It was blatantly saying, this is how you should think. We're going to tell you how to think. Okay, people kind of got to get that in their head. That's the world we're in right now. Now, what Matthias Desmet has shared with us, brilliant insight, is an
I'm glad that he made reference to Matthias Desmet because Matthias himself has done an amazing job. I sat down for an hour and 23 minutes listening to this. So much knowledge, so much truth in that. It's just impossible to deny it. So you need to go check that out. A link will be posted in the description below. So let's go back to the interview here.
Another one of those, now that part makes sense, which is that this comes from basically European intellectual inquiry into what the heck happened in Germany in the 20s and 30s. Very intelligent, highly educated population, and they went barking mad. And how did that happen?
By the way, this was one of the questions that I myself struggled with for years, wondering what happened in Germany? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did intelligent people fall onto the grip in the deception of Adolf Hitler? You know what I'm saying? So he's going to go on to answer this question for you now. Pay close attention because what happened back then is happening again, right? Pay attention.
The answer is mass formation psychosis. When you have a society that has become decoupled from each other and has free-floating anxiety and a sense that things don't make sense, we can't understand it, and then their attention gets focused by a leader or a series of events on one small point, just like hypnosis, they literally become hypnotized and can be led anywhere. And one of the aspects of that phenomena is the people that they identify as their leaders, the ones typically that come in and say, you have this pain and I can solve it for you. I and I alone, okay, can fix this problem for you. Okay, then they will follow that person through. It doesn't matter whether they lie to him or whatever. The data are irrelevant. And furthermore, anybody who questions that narrative is to be immediately attacked. They are the other. This is central to mass formation psychosis. And this is what has happened. We had all those conditions. If you remember back before.
Now, what's wrong with what this man is saying? I still don't understand why he has gotten the label, even though he has proven to be a legitimate type of doctor who has done so much in the field of mRNA. But the moment he began to speak against the narrative, he was labeled as a misinformed kind of person who is putting out all kind of outrageous statement against pestilence 19 inoculation. I'm using words here just to bypass Mr. YouTube from getting on my back. So you get that point. So let's continue watching this because I'm gonna move on to the reaction video eventually to dive deeper into the concept of what happened to us. Mass formation psychosis, friends. This is what happened. Now let's pay close attention.
2019. Everybody was complaining. The world doesn't make sense. Blah, blah, blah. And we're all isolated from each other. We're all on our little tools. We're not connected socially anymore, except through social media. And then this thing happened, and everybody focused on it. That is how mass formation psychosis happens, and that is what's happened here. Now, there's ways to get out of it. Matthias's recommendation is you got to get people to realize that what we've got is a situation of global totalitarianism. In his experience in Europe, making people realize there's a bigger threat than the virus can cause a separation psychologically in this fusion, this hypnosis that has happened. The problem is, then you're just substituting a bigger boogeyman from the current one, and somebody else can come in and manipulate that. The real problem, and it gets back to your core point, we're sick as a society, and we have to heal ourselves. And one of the things we have to do is come together. We have to recreate our social bonds. We have to buy into integrity, the importance of human dignity, and the importance of community. That's how we get out of this. And I think that this insight of Matthias Desmet is really central to kind of making sense out of all of this crazy. We got a world in which the press is incentivized to push a storyline because they're all controlled by the same large funds that Pfizer is, and so is tech. I don't know how we're going to get out of it, but it's got to start with us, all of us, finding common ground.
I think one way we're going to get out of it is by realizing what it is. And by the way you just explained it, and the way Peter McCullough explained it when he was on the podcast as well, this mass formation psychosis that we're currently experiencing. Most people are unaware that's even happening. All these events take place, and it's this perfect storm of the social media aspect of it, the fact that we are disconnected, the COVID, the separation, the isolation from society, the lockdowns, also coming off of the 4 years of Trump, where we're so polarized politically. And it's become very, not just common, but accepted to other people, to point at those, the others, whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats or the Independents, whatever you choose
or
to make.
Or the unvaccinated.
Or the unvaccinated. That was what I was going to get to.
Yeah, it's always, and one thing you do notice in, mass formation psychosis, there's always the larger group who tend to go along with what the narrative pushes, right? And then there's also the small class who tends to say, no, we're not for that. There's something wrong with this. But the small class is oftentimes marginalized, labeled, or called all type of names as a result, or anti-vax type of people. They are often, demonized of some sort. But what mass formation psychosis, and when in my research of this, what I've discovered is that as the smaller class begin to raise their voice, it creates some type of awareness, and it begins to wake up the larger class to say, you know what, maybe this smaller group down here are possibly right about that. And I think what we are seeing in our culture is that the larger class is beginning to wake up, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's not, you don't have to simply go on Rumble or BitChute to get the facts anymore, because the larger class is realizing what's going on here, and they're saying, okay, we have been duped, flam, misled, deceived in some sort in regard to by the powers that be, or by the elite, or by whoever is behind in pushing their concepts in a light of trying to save the world. But we seen that hasn't worked. So now the people are now getting their voice back. And that's kind of how you deteriorate the concept of mass formation psychosis. So now let's continue to finish this video here.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I find very bizarre about the tribal aspect of this, is that people want me to get vaccinated. And like my friends who've been vaccinated want me to join the team. Like, go ahead, get the tattoo. Like, what are you saying? And I'm like, I've gone through the virus. I have immunity. I also have antibodies. I just checked them last week. Like, I could show you the test. As a matter of fact, I have it right here. There it is.
And I had to be tested when I came in the front door at your shop here.
Yeah, we test everybody. But the point being is it doesn't make any sense for me to get vaccinated, but they want me to join.
It's worse than that. It puts you at higher risk.
Yes.
Okay, they're asking you to take more risk for your health in order to join their club.
That's what it is. And that's what it is. And it's a tribal formation. And it's people who don't have personal sovereignty and people who aren't confident with standing by their own thoughts and objectively analyzing things outside of an ideology, outside of the tribe. Those people are very susceptible right now, and those are more common than not.
So, Joe, again, this is not me buttering you up, but this is why you're providing such a service to your country and to humanity.
Yeah.
Because you're one of the...
You wonder why Joe wanted to keep him silent for saying the N-word? This is the reason why.
few voices that has an audience that is not Democrat or Republican or black or white or vaccinated or unvaccinated, all these dipoles that we create artificially. And you are trying to speak to that persuadable middle and do so with an open heart and an open mind. And in a world in which all of the information is being so carefully manipulated and so pervasively distorted. And I'm grateful, sincerely. My colleagues are grateful. And I think the world should be grateful for your leadership.
Amazing. Powerful. Guys, have you learned something about mass formation psychosis? I have. Let me pause this video here. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna merge into our reaction video. So I'm gonna give you a scripture verse to confirm what the Bible says here, and with that, you're gonna have to fast forward into part 2. When you move to part 2, you will hear something even more amazing in the light of our discussion. Now, this is the verse I want you to leave you with, because this concept of mass formation psychosis does have a scriptural, a biblical perspective as well. Here's what it says. Be aware of false prophets. Oftentimes we think false prophets are people who are in church who are talking about God. Although in a theological sense it is true, but false prophets could be anyone who propose or assume a position of, I know the facts, I know the truth, you need to follow me, I have the answers. However, Jesus tells us to be aware of false prophets, right? Who comes to you in sheep's clothing. This is so significant. False prophets don't look like false prophets, right? They come looking like people of God, men who have the solution to what we're looking for. Men who say, listen, people, I know you got some issues going on here, but if you follow my logic, I've been trained enough, I can be trusted in my field, I have the answers. And Jesus says, be aware, because they don't come looking like wolves, but they come looking like sheep, And then he says, inwardly, they are ravenous wolves. So it is not on the outside that you discover the intent of the false prophet. It is an internal, corrupt, sinful, self-motivated nature driven by greed, avarice, and other notions for which I don't even know. Jesus says, be aware of them, because inwardly they are wolves while they are clothed as sheep, appearing to have the answers that you might be looking for. So, I don't want to say anything else. I think you can read between the line of where I'm trying to go with this. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Follow me in a second video, because we are going to react to Time August, his name. Let me get that name correct. So there he is. Jesus, What Happened to Us by 5 Time August. See you in the second part.